What's happening, YouTube? Alright, get your robes on, and if I can pull it out myself, get out your wands, because we are Wingardium Leviosa in this chapter. And this is Clover's and the Top Hat Guys Library Talk. So this is chapter 10, Halloween. And this was a very exciting chapter, I gotta say. How did you like it, honey?
It's exciting. There are some differences, but then of course there's some real also parallels with the book.
Yeah, there was a lot of
movie.
There was a lot of parallels in the book and with the movie in this chapter. It was a very crucial chapter, very important. It's what bonds the trio in this chapter. Really puts them together, and I mean, even at the end of the chapter, it says this is when they've some experiences causes bonds for that, just for any friend, any people. I guess it was way better put that way, but I can't remember what.
There's some experiences that just make you a group.
That's the one. There you go. I'm so glad I have her. No, be so lost. So this chapter, it starts out with them talking about how Malfoy was going to be totally mad and upset and expected them to not be at Hogwarts anymore.
Especially because he set them up.
Yeah, because in the previous chapter he set them up, and we all remember how that turned out. And then meeting Fluffy and all, who we don't know the name for yet, but we've seen the movie, so we know the name. So they're at the feast table, dinner table, dining table, whatever you want to call it. And
mail comes.
And mail comes, and all of a sudden there's this big broom. Everyone sees it. It's a big broom. Everyone sees it. They
don't know it's a broom,
but they know it's something pretty big, and they're all wondering, what is it?
And then it drops in front of Harry.
Right in front of Harry. And then right after is another owl that drops a note right on top of it. Knocks off his bacon. I would have been a little mad. I'm a big fan of bacon, so I would have been a little mad about that. But you know what? With this gift, I guess it just makes up for it anyways, because inside is in fact a broomstick. But not just any broomstick, but the Nimbus 2000 broomstick.
Which we met in the beginning of the book, at Diagon Alley.
Which, yes, if you recall, we saw a bunch of people peering at that exact broomstick, just goggling at it. Their windows sealed in there, while Harry was just walking through with Hagrid, getting his, all the stuff for school and whatnot. But yes, he's got a Nimbus 2000, and you muggles out there probably don't know what that is, but
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and Harry himself doesn't even know much about broomsticks, but he could even tell that it was a big deal, and it was beautiful.
Ron, who doesn't even have a broomstick, could not stop bragging about it to everyone.
To everyone. And they actually end up getting stopped by Crabbe and Goyle, and then Malfoy appears and just grabs the package out of, because at this point they haven't undid the broom, or unwrapped the broom, just read the letter. Malfoy grabs it from him and is like,
"Oh, you're gonna be in trouble. First he's not allowed brooms."
Yep, with a little cocky little grin on his face, he says that, and in the middle of the dispute of what they're arguing with, Mr. Flitwick himself, elbow height to Malfoy, just kind of clears his throat and like, "Yeah, boys ain't fighting, are you?" And Malfoy, jumping to the chance to get Harry in trouble, tells Professor Flitwick that the broom, that's a broomstick, and that first years aren't allowed, naturally allowed to have them.
And he already knows.
And Flitwick's already knows all about it. Professor McGonagall's told about the whole special
because
condition.
It was from Professor McGonagall. We didn't mention that. The broom was a gift from Professor McGonagall.
Well, that's what the letter says. I think it's.
Well, yeah, we didn't mention it.
Well, it doesn't flat right out say it's from her.
Yeah, it does. The note is from her.
It does say the note's from her, but that doesn't mean that the broomstick is from her. In fact, I have concept to believe that it was from Lucius Malfoy. But I digress. Anyways, So yes, that was the case with the whole broomstick thing. He did not get in trouble because he was invited to be on the, in the previous chapter.
He was a special case.
He was a special
As she
case.
always is.
As Harry usually is, yeah. I mean, he is the chosen one after all. That prophecy in hand, he is a very special individual.
Which we don't know about yet.
Yep.
For another 4 movies. Books, movies.
Books, yeah. For a while. But, I mean, we've seen all the movies, so we know. We know. Y'all might not know, but we know. So, yeah. He goes, gets that. What does he do next? Go up to the dorm? And...
The dorm? Well, Hermione comes through.
No. They meet Hermione after they go into the common room. She mentions it because they're rushing to go back to the common room to put up the broomstick. And Hermione says, what does she say? Something cocky or something.
Hermione thinks, "Oh, I bet you think you're so great because of that."
Yeah. That sounds
something
perfect.
to the effect of it.
Yeah, something to the effect of it for sure. That sounds exactly right, honestly. Yeah. So at this point,
Hermione hasn't been talking to them.
Yeah.
Because of what happened in the last chapter.
Yes, ever since.
Although they don't mind it because she's so cocky and know-it-all.
And it's so funny to read her read chapters about Hermione before Halloween. But before this chapter, Hermione is like a whole different person. And you can, it kind of puts that, it stinks that in the book pretty well after the whole troll situation, which we're getting to.
She needs to learn how to live a little.
How to live a little. You know what? I think the boys definitely do that for her, though. I mean, I would definitely say they teach her how to live a little, for sure. So, yeah, then Halloween comes and Ron and Harry walk through the dining hall?
You left out the entire part where Harry learns about Quidditch.
Oh yeah, he has a whole yeah. I'm so sorry. No, he goes through talking about how that whole week he has trouble keeping anything on his mind other than Quidditch because he's gonna have Quidditch practice, and he gets there early and starts practicing going through the hoops and stuff, and just swerving perfectly with direction on his broom. And Woods arrives and says, "Come down here," and Harry, like a pro, just guides down right beside him and stops and dismounts, and Woods just obviously impressed, and even makes a comment about Professor McGonagall being right.
Natural.
About him being a complete natural at Quidditch already. And I mean, reading stuff like that just feels so good for us to see Harry going through this. I think that's it's such a fun perspective to watch. And he goes over how there are, say it again, honey.
There's 3 chasers.
Chasers, thank you.
There's 1 keeper. There's 2 beaters. And there is 1 seeker.
On each team, yes. And he goes over the guidelines, how the first one was chasers. Those are the ones I always keep forgetting. But yes, the chasers
are the ones that try and score the goals.
Are the ones that try to score the goals. The
keeper
is like a goalie pretty much. Trying to make sure they don't score. The 2 beaters, there's a separate ball that kind of 2 separate balls. Thank you, honey.
Named bludgeoners.
That kind of fly and kind of try to target the other enemies and knock them off the course. And
we already know that the Weasley twins
are the
Gryffindor beaters.
And it's just kind of perfect, honestly.
And then obviously Harry is the seeker.
And then yes, Harry is the new seeker.
So he learns that all he needs to worry about is the golden snitch. Which awards, did it say 150 points? Yeah.
150 points and ends the game.
Yes.
So a game of Quidditch goes on indefinitely until a seeker of one of the teams catches a golden snitch.
The record for the longest game is 3 months.
3 months, and they had to substitute players for sleep reasons, obviously. And that's crazy and a really cool detail, honestly. So now we got the whole Quidditch thing. Let's now move on to the main aspect of this chapter and what it's named after, which is Halloween.
Halloween feast.
Yes, there is a Halloween feast in the dining hall, which Harry and Ron go to, and it talks about how there's sweeping bats all over, and it's just a huge Halloween aesthetic.
Yet on the way to the dining hall, they hear that Hermione is in the girls' bathroom and is not going to be bothered by anyone.
She has missed 2 classes now that afternoon, and they hear a rumor from Pavilion.
We didn't talk about Wingardium Leviosa.
Oh, yeah, I guess we kind of...
I'm sorry, y'all. We're skipping all kinds of things.
When did that take place?
That was before right
Quidditch?
after Quidditch.
Was it right after Quidditch?
Right after Quidditch, but before the practices started.
Okay.
It was after the Quidditch night where he learned about it, but then it was before the dining hall and everything.
Okay. Man, I'm sorry, y'all. This was such a long chapter.
They were broken into teams to practice levitating.
Yes, so in Professor Flitwick's class, they were learning how to levitate little feathers. And Harry got paired up with Seamus Finnegan, which he was thankful for because Neville was eyeing him, hoping that Harry would team up with Neville, and he knows that if you team up with Neville, it's just a bad idea. It's not going to help him.
However,
well, hold up, I want to finish this. It turns out hanging out or being partners with Seamus Finnegan also didn't turn out too helpful for Harry. And then what was he going to say, honey?
However, what's really bad is that Ron and Hermione get paired up.
Oh yes, and then Ron gets paired up with Hermione.
And they don't know who looks more angry about it.
They're both just so spiteful about it, it seems. And so Seamus is beside Harry, and they're both, Harry and them and Seamus both are having a hard time levitating this feather, which is really...
Seamus ends up setting their feather on fire.
Yeah, he ends up getting frustrated with it and just tapping the feather with his wand, and it just combusts around his face. And Harry has to put it out with his hat, which is never really mentioned that Harry has a hat, so we're over here like, what's the hat? Why is that not in the movies? Like, is it a top hat? You know what? For the rest of the book, I'm just going to assume Harry's wearing a top hat. That's what we're doing. He's our boy. It's part of the top hat club.
And then it shows how Ron is trying, and Hermione
is like,
you're saying it wrong. It's not Leviosa, it's Leviosa.
Perfect. That was perfect. Yes. And he snarls back and is like, well, if you're so clever, then you do it. And she
nails it.
Just takes out the wand, says, Wingardium Leviosa. And it, sure enough, goes up.
Nails it.
Just nails it right away. And Professor Flitwick is just so joyed.
And Ron could not be more irritated.
Yeah, Ron, being the petty little boy he is right now, just says some very unnecessary things, which causes Hermione to be in the bathroom. And
which she hears him saying some things that went too far.
Yeah, we're not even gonna... Okay, I'll say it. He says it's no wonder she doesn't have any friends, and calls her a nightmare. And then she rushes past Harry, and he can notice, he notices she's crying, and that's when she spends the rest of the evening of class, skip classes in the girls' bathroom, pretty much just, I guess, probably crying, poor thing.
So we're back to the Halloween feast.
So yes, now back to the Halloween feast. We are so sorry. This video is gonna be so long.
It's a long chapter.
It is a long chapter. We appreciate y'all sticking with this long. For those who have, we're sorry we jumbled up the whole story. It's a lot to remember, y'all, but we're having a blast. So they're at the Halloween feast and they hear about all that, and shortly after, before they can even enjoy their meal, Professor Quirrell runs all the way through the hall up to Dumbledore's chair, leans over, seeming exhausted and about probably as white as a sheet, I imagine, and says, "Troll in the dungeon! Just thought you ought to know." And then just kind of falls, I guess, into the floor. I don't know.
Obviously, the hall breaks into a big panic.
And yeah, they all freaking scatter out like a bunch of cockroaches, not knowing what to do, just trying to roach out, not knowing where to roach out to.
Dumbledore does his explosions.
And then Dumbledore over here fires up his wand and is like, "Silence!" And everybody's quiet, and he tells the prefects to escort all the students, especially the first years,
back to their dorms.
Back to the dorms, and Percy Weasley takes this moment with perfect. He's like
he jumps
made.
into his
Jumps into his role like he was made for it. And he's over here. "I'm a prefect. All first students to the dormitory follow me," and all this, as the leader should, I suppose.
Then Harry remembers.
And then on their way, Harry remembers Hermione doesn't know about the troll, and she's in the girls' bathroom. So they try to rush to...
Ron is scared that Percy will see them because he's his big brother.
Yeah, Ron's a little like, okay, I don't know if we should, because if Percy catches us, we're going to be in big trouble, and, that's going to probably double for Ron being his older brother and everything. So,
yeah.
But sure enough, they make their way towards the girls' bathroom, and they but they spot Snape, and they hide from him. So Snape doesn't see them, but they see Snape.
Then next thing they see.
And then next thing they smell.
Yes,
yeah. Next thing they smell is this foul stench, which can only be one thing, obviously, the troll. They end up spying on it where it walks into this corridor, and then with haste, Harry closes the door behind it and locks it in there.
Which is different than the movie, because in the movie they don't even see a door.
No, that's very different than the movie here. But I think this just it really fits really better because of this situation, they kind of caused the next situation to happen, which is very vital. As they run away, they hear the last thing they wanted to hear, which is a female shrieking, which they immediately knew was Hermione screaming, and they realized they just locked the troll in the one place they were going to try to warn somebody, in the girls' bathroom.
Which is why they have to rush back and save her.
Which is why they immediately rush back to save her without thinking, which is a beautiful hero act, and that's the sign.
Bravery.
That's a sign of a true hero, jumping to
sign of a true Gryffindor with bravery.
Indeed, for the Gryffindors. So I love the fact that Hufflepuff just pointed that out. It's beautiful. So yes, they run into the bathroom to save the day, and sure enough, Ron distracts it long enough for Harry to jump on its back because it was both brave and stupid, but it was all he could think of doing. However, in his calculations of doing so, he accidentally sticks his wand up the troll's nose, which is perfectly accurate with the movie.
Then what does Ron do?
And then Ron, while Harry's just flailing around on the back of the troll, takes out the wand and says, "Wingardium Leviosa."
Picks up the troll.
Levitates the troll's club and drops it right on his head. Hearing a huge clank sound, the troll falls over flat on his face. Sorry.
And the next thing you know, you hear
Oh,
footsteps.
a lot of footsteps, because that whole scene just caused such a loud racket that almost all the teachers, well, I'm not going to say all the teachers, but
Professor
Professor McGonagall,
Snape,
Snape, and then right behind is Professor Quirrell, who
Yes.
sits on a toilet seat, just startled to death, just not sure what to do, holding his heart. We know why, but y'all don't.
We won't mention it yet.
Yeah, we won't mention it. And so, in that situation, they're getting railed by Professor McGonagall about the whole situation, and then they hear a voice say behind her that, and it's Hermione, and she sticks up for them and says it was all her fault.
She wanted to go and find the troll, thinking she could handle it, and they came after her to save her.
And it was
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was a great, they never expected Hermione Granger, teacher's pet, to lie to the teachers. And so they get 5 points taken off because of Hermione, and then 5 points each added to them. So that's awesome.
They head back to the dorm.
Yeah, they head back to the dorm. They don't speak until they're 2 floors away from the whole incident, and they get back, and I think it says they're silent, and they kind of just all say thanks to each other, and then they all just grab a plate and eat.
Finish the Halloween feast.
Yeah, finish the Halloween feast.
And from there on, Hermione is part of their group.
Exactly. Then Hermione is part of the game, because some experiences band any group of people together. And so that is Halloween chapter 10, and it was a fun one. For our comments for this video, we would like to ask y'all, what position in Quidditch do y'all think y'all would be? What one do you think would fit you, or which one would you just like to try if Quidditch was a real thing? Let us know down below. Like and comment if you like the video, guys. And thank you again so much for joining us. We love doing this library talk. It gives us a reason to read together, and anything that has a couple to do together is just amazing. Thank y'all so much, and have a wonderful day.